Have you ever wondered what happens when the endless, invisible sky goes to war with the brightest, most destructive spark in nature? Welcome to today's Explainer. We are diving into the elemental debate, fire versus air. We're unpacking a massive, heavyweight clash between two absolute primal forces. We are just looking at standard natural phenomena here. Oh no, we are breaking down a literal battle for elemental supremacy.
Okay, let's just jump right into this. Based on a truly captivating presentation by Hemish Name Gowda and Devish Raghu Gowda, we're going to introduce these two competitors not just as, scientific concepts, but as personified titans locked in this ancient mythological rivalry. On one side, you have the fiery, unyielding avatar of fire, burning with just pure intensity. Countering that is the calm, imposing, cloud-woven avatar of air. It's basically the ultimate visualization of an unstoppable force meeting an immovable object.
To set the baseline for our explainer, let's look at their defining traits. Fire represents passion, energy, and destruction, versus air, which stands for freedom, power, and life. These aren't just elements, right? They are entire domains of influence. Fire claims the domain of passion, energy, and total destruction. It's chaotic, it's active. Air, on the other hand, well, it counters with freedom, power, and life itself. It's expansive, foundational, and just ever-present. Keep these core identities in your back pocket as we listen to their arguments.
Section 1. The Case for Air. Subtitle: The Invisible Giant.
So let's give the floor to the sky above. What's truly interesting here is how air chooses to present itself. It doesn't rely on flashy displays. Instead, air defines itself as a silent, invisible giant that wraps around the entire world. It points out its omnipresent, ancient nature. It's everywhere all at once, kind of looking down on what it views as a lesser, vastly more volatile opponent. And wow, air lands a devastating opening blow. It drops this quote: "You brag about your power, fire, but you forget that you only exist because I allow you to breathe." Think about that for a second. Air isn't just claiming to be stronger. It's pointing out a simple, undeniable scientific truth. It has complete, absolute control over fire's very ability to exist. Without the oxygen that air graciously provides, fire is literally nothing.
Listen to the dual threat presented next. With one single hold of my breath, I can starve your flames. Or I can whip up a great storm to blow you away. Air is detailing a highly effective, two-pronged defensive capability here. It boasts that it can go the passive route, simply holding its breath to instantly suffocate and starve fire, or it can go on the absolute offensive, whipping up a massive, violent storm to just blow fire away entirely. That is a terrifying flex of total environmental control.
So we have a temporary spark versus the endless sky. Air concludes its powerful monologue by just completely dismissing its opponent. It labels fire as nothing more than a temporary angry spark. In contrast, air is the endless sky that was here long before fire and will remain long after fire has turned into nothing but dust. Talk about a mic drop moment, establishing air's permanence against fire's fleeting nature. But you have to ask yourself, how does the brightest force in nature respond to being called a temporary spark? You don't just call fire a temporary spark and expect it to quietly fizzle out, right? Section 2. The Case for Fire. Subtitle: The Destructive Force. The heat is rising, and it is time to examine fire's furious rebuttal. Fire wastes absolutely no time establishing its own dominance. Stepping onto the battlefield, it proudly claims its identity as the brightest and most destructive force in nature. It doesn't shy away from the chaos. Actually, scratch that, it fully embraces it. It is untouchable, uncatchable, and entirely lethal. And listen to this quote: "I have the power to melt solid iron, burn down massive forests, and turn everything in my path into cold gray ash." This brilliantly illustrates fire's primary argument. It counters with tangible evidence of its raw physical power. It boasts the localized ability to melt solid iron, level massive forests, and literally turn everything in its path into cold gray ash. It is the ultimate agent of absolute physical annihilation. But here is fire's brilliant tactical counter to air's earlier threat. Even when you try to blow me out, your wind often just spreads my sparks to start 10 new battles. Remember when air threatened to blow it away? Well, fire points out that when air tries to do that, the wind often just spreads fire's sparks, starting 10 new battles.
Fire chaotically turns air's offensive weapon into a massive advantage. It uses the very breath meant to destroy it to multiply its presence tenfold across the whole battlefield.
Section 3. The Symbiotic Paradox. Subtitle: A Codependent Battle.
Which brings our explainer to its climax. We have a 4-step cycle. 1. Fire sparks. 2. Air provides breath. 3. Wind spreads the sparks. 4. Fire grows wilder. Once you really analyze both sides, a fascinating truth emerges about these titans. If we walk through the tactical progression of their interaction, it forms this perfect, unending cycle. Fire sparks, then air unwittingly provides the breath, the oxygen. Next, air's wind, trying to extinguish the threat, actually spreads those sparks. And finally, fire feeds on that very breath and that very wind to grow bigger, wilder, and vastly more dangerous.
Because of the cycle, fire makes its ultimate, defiant claim. As long as there is fuel to burn, my hot light will rule the darkness. It boldly states that as long as there's fuel to burn, its hot light will rule. It's a spectacular boast, for sure, but notice the caveat there: as long as there is fuel to burn. A fuel that inherently relies on the very oxygen that air controls.
Section 4. Synthesis. Subtitle: The Balance of Nature. So, thank you to Hemish and Divish for the project topic, fire and air. What we are really looking at here isn't a battle to the death, but a complex, volatile marriage between two forces. As we acknowledge the creators of this fantastic visual project, let's just linger on this intertwined existence. Neither element can truly defeat the other. Fire absolutely needs air to survive and burn. But air needs fire to be seen, to be felt dynamically in the world, to drive the thermal changes that create the very winds air boasts about. They are locked in a delicate, combative balance that literally shapes the world we live in.
So, after exploring these powerful monologues and mapping out their codependent nature, I leave you with this final thought. Between the endless sky and the ruling light, which element truly holds the ultimate power? Between the invisible, omnipresent giant of the sky and the destructive, multiplying spark of the ruling light, who do you think really won this battle?